Welcome to my full-length, in-depth paper theater construction tutorial. This is, I actually talked through the whole process. I just thought I was going to do a voiceover and then decided, no, I'm just going to talk through the whole thing, so this part didn't have any audio. But anyway, hope you enjoy, and I plan on doing this for the other types of paper theaters as well. So, each paper theater comes with the front picture, and it's good to reference this while you're working. So I'll put it to the side. And it comes with instructions, and it comes with all of your pieces. And so I'll give you a quick overview of what the instructions look like. It might not come in with English. Regardless, there are hardly any words. So the front side always has this little instruction-y bit in Japanese and then English if it has it. It basically just says separate utility knife, glue the parts, assemble, and then joint. So it's very, very self-explanatory as far as through the pictures. And this is the order you go in. So you can see everything has its own box. So the second, I guess, layer is right there, and it says we're gonna focus on the front side. Sometimes it'll make you go back side, so it's important to read which side you're gonna paste on. So it says front side, back side for this layer number 3. And it's all within the same boundaries, as you can see. And you go from left to right, and it'll even tell you, follow this arrow down here, this is your next one. And then it's got this little dotted line to indicate, okay, now we're gonna flip this layer over. And so that layer is done, you go to 4. 4 is all within this one box, and it has an arrow that says continue. So we are continuing on to 4, and it's also the same side. So this is front side, you continue, and then front side again. And then this boundary shows box or layer number 5, and this boundary shows layer number 6. And then this bottom part shows you all the layers once they're completed. So you can continually reference this back side as needed to show that you're done. And then it'll show you the joints. These all look like they're the same size joints, but be mindful, sometimes each joint goes to a specific corner. It'll be labeled on each paper theater. Okay, so let me just go ahead and fold this flap because there's nothing that I need to see on here. And I put these to the side usually, but since I'm gonna do a tutorial, I'll bring it to the front each time I need to reference it to show you. But, so here's the packet. I always use this little plastic thing that it comes with to put my glue on. So, and I fold this down just so the little papers don't get stuck to it when I pull them out. So this is what I'll be gluing on, so I'll leave that in that top corner. And I'll put all of these off camera just because it's so expansive, but the way I always do my organization is I'll put the individual pieces to my left, and I'll put they call these the joints. I'll put the joints and I don't know what you call these, the layers or the frames up at the top. That's just for organization. You definitely don't have to do that. And let me show you. It says 1 right there. So this is frame number 1. And also, as far as my organization goes, you can see here that this one is a frame, but it's also got random bits too. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out bits. And also, keep in mind, when I say cut out the bits, I'm not gonna cut out anything. This is just a better example. I'm not gonna cut out any of these ahead of time because it tells you where it's gonna go. These all say 4 front, which you're like, okay, why wouldn't I know where it's gonna go? But now these all have a different location. So it's important, just might as well keep them off to the side. It's a lot easier that way. And a pro tip that I mentioned in like all my videos, but since this is a real tutorial, I'm mentioning it now. Cut from the side. That's obviously the back side because everything is reversed. So this is the back side. And so each thing has its own little notch. Let me try to bring it up actually, see if you can see that. So there's a notch right there, and you can already cut one notch out so you can see, but you can see how it's stuck there. So always flip it on the back because it's more visible. And then cut out your notches. There's usually a few notches per every piece. The bigger the piece, the more notches. But let me show you. So it's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's easier to see in person. There's a notch right there. That being said, everything is so much harder to cut when it's on this nice front side. And also, if you mess up and then you like accidentally like slip, it's gonna ruin this side if that were the front side. So just pro tip, always cut from the back side. And so anyway, I'm putting all of my putting all the frames up at the top of my desk in numerical order. It doesn't sound like I do anything to the first frame at all. That's 6, this is 2. Looks like 2 is gonna be the first one. I also need to cut something off of that, and I need to cut something off of that, and I need to cut something off of that. So this one is 2. This is the back side of 2. And these notches are sometimes kind of hard to see, but if it's a straight line, you can just drag it across and you're gonna hit all of them. If it's not a straight line, then I didn't press hard enough. No, it's fine. If it's not a straight line, then you just have to pay attention. This is number 2, so I'm gonna keep this out here. Again, back side, grab all the notches. You kind of do that to see where you're missing one. Okay, this is frame layer, I'm not sure, number 3. Number 4. And I'm only cutting out the pieces that need to go off to the side, and that's just because sometimes they have specific cutting instructions and I don't want to cut too much on accident and mess something up. Okay, so 4 is up there. And now let me just quickly put all these to the side. I don't really have any order for these off to the side. I'm just literally just putting it down in a way that I could see everything by color, you know. It's easier if you have a big desk to do this. Okay, so any white glue works. If you do the paper theater wood style, I've only used the same white glue and it's held up great, so that's what I recommend. And so this little plastic thing that held all the little paper bits is what I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna squeeze this out, and you can add more glue as you go on, as needed. So I'm gonna put that off to the side. Here's my paintbrush that I use. It's kind of angled, so I can do like wide areas as well as more finer details. You can use any paintbrush, honestly. So we're gonna go to the instructions, and just for layer number 2, it says layer number 2, we're gonna go on the front side, and we're gonna use this little white piece. It's a no faces face. So we look for our white sheet. Sometimes you might have more than one white sheet, or sometimes you have like a color that's close. Just pay attention. And so you can see it right here, and it says it too. It's always somewhere near it. So this says front, and it's this little no face. So we're gonna flip it over with the back side showing because it's easier to cut. We're gonna cut out the little no face face. This one only has 2 notches. And then I flipped it over because I cut it from the back side, and it told us that this was the front side that we need to utilize. So we also need to cut out this frame. And so when we do that, there's 2 parts that you need to cut out typically. You need to cut out the outer bit that has the indicating number on here. And I actually always put everything in this little box as I go. It's kind of helpful to me. And then you need to cut out this middle section too. Keep in mind which one's the back, it makes it a lot easier. And So I cut that one. This one's kind of a weird shape. It's not quite just a square or a rectangle. I cut that one. There's one there. There's two tiny ones here. And then there's one at the top there. And let's see if I missed any. Yeah, there's one at the top that didn't cut all the way. And then there's another one at the top. So that might, man, this one has a lot on here. I didn't cut this very well. And then there's another tiny one here. And I think that should be it. I also think this blade might need to be changed out. Oh, I didn't see this one. There's one on the side of no face. Okay. So this is the back side, so we flip it. And you can see from the pictures too, just like with all the fine details, like there's like the little no face there. There's not one on this side, so you can tell this is where we need to put him. And right before I glue it, let me get real close and show you, see if I can show you. There are like little notches on each side and the bottom. Those are your gluing guidelines. So that's where you know you're gonna glue whatever piece. So just barely dip it, get some glue on it, and just kind of, this stuff dries so fast. It's not like too fast you can't work with, but it's fast enough to where you can lay it and then start on the next thing, and it's super easy. So I glued the little no face down, and then push it up, push it around while the glue is still wet. Just make sure you get in those guidelines really well. And then you can always check the back too. And yeah, so that's actually done. We're done with layer number 2. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out layer number 1 because there's nothing we need to do with layer number 1. So there's that one. There. That one. That one. That one. And then we need to cut out. It's kind of tedious. Oh, that's the front side. It's kind of tedious, but not this part so much. We need to cut out all those little bits of the bridge. And this is why it's so important to do it on the back side, because any little slip it shows up as a little score mark on the front side, and you don't want that. You want it to be nice and as great as you can get it. So anyway, that's just the there's some part that I didn't notice, and I didn't notice on layer 2. We need to do that as well. Good thing noticed at some point. So these corners up at the top, it's not really on the instructions because it just shows what everything looks like when it's cut out. But these little corners are actually need to come out on both sides, as well as for this layer number 2. So we're gonna flip it over. There's a score line there. There's a score line there. Where else is there a score line? There's one there. Looks like one there. Okay, there's another one. It's hard to see. They're so tiny sometimes. Right there. And then if you look at the picture on the front, you can tell these little intricate front designs also need to come out. There's a tiny little score line right there. There's one right there. And is that it? Let's see. Yeah. And so this one was already not there on the other side. So cool, I guess. Sometimes the details are so intricate that they've, you know, pre-cut themselves almost. So there's one there. Let's see. Where's this other one? It's up against there, but it's just pre-cut almost. There's one there. So the front, so layer number 1. Oh, there's one more piece. It's not on the instructions, it just shows you the completed layer, which is why I'm like, oh, there's another one, there's another one. And it's important to look at the picture because that's how I noticed it, almost. There's this bit at the bottom. So cut that out. Now I think the first layer is complete. Looks good. Looks like everything is cut out. So I'm gonna put that on top and then go back to layer number 2, and we gotta get these little corner boys out. So there's a score mark there. There's one there. There's one there. And sometimes I can't really see it, but I can see the parts lift up when I try to cut it. Same thing on this side. Where else does this need to be cut? Over here. Looking at it. Now, layer 2 is officially done. You can see that's what we cut out. Little no face. So we're gonna put those little bits in the little trash can. It's not a trash can. Okay, now we're going to layer 3. As this says, front side is what we're gonna paint on first, and or glue on first. And all that means is, see, there's like a little Chihiro there. Initially, we're gluing to this front layer, and then when the time comes, we flip over and start gluing on this side. So I'm gonna cut out everything that I need to cut out first, cutting from the back side, because it's easier to see the marks, and it's also, you know, just in case you overcut. That weird clacking da 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 da. That's my desk. See? It's just very extra. I have no clue where my parents got this desk from. I do like it, but sometimes it's pretty extra. It goes da 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 da. When I got my new dog, he did not know what was going on. Because it makes that sound like as I'm working, you know. So it doesn't really look like I'm doing anything different. I'm just like bearing on the desk, and so the new dog, his name's SUV, he would get really frightened because he didn't know where the sound was coming from. Let's see. Line there, there's a line there. Okay, what else? What else? so this is the front side. You can tell it's the front side because it matches. Got this little lump on that side. Now it's calling for all of these pieces. I'm gonna bring it up closer just so you can tell. It's calling for a pink piece, white shoes, white top of head, white, I guess, shoulders, pinkish cheeks, tan mouth. So, and you can also see it's telling you what it's needing here. So these both, while these both say 3 front, you can tell by the picture this is what we're gonna do in this step. So we're getting this darker pink bit of shirt. I'm gonna put that back off to the side. And the white stuff. Get her shoes. So it looks like it's this one. You're gonna get this top of her head. Gotta get this, I don't know, shoulders kind of thing. This one's a lot easier to cut out than the other layer. And then only 2 more pieces. Part of her cheeks. And while this looks kind of weird, as the layers come together, it makes sense what you're doing. It's kind of one of those trust the process things. Admittedly though, it is kind of confusing the first few times you do this. You're like, why am I only doing half of her face? Okay, and then this. Okay, so those are all the pieces that it called for, and if I missed one, we can go back and cut some. So now, I like to start from wherever I can best orient the pieces, because it's very important that all these are lined up correctly. So keep in mind, we're achieving this picture based off of these pieces we cut out. So make sure you're gluing the front side or the back side or everything. And so for something like this, I like to get the glue thinly applied. Thinly is very important because it helps the dry time. And then kind of just start gluing it one by one, or kind of one by one, but making sure everything fits. If that's too much work for you, just glue one piece at a time. But it's important that you get everything aligned correctly. And you can check the back too. If you don't really see much of anything poking out, you're pretty good. I can see a little bit of the top poking out, so you gotta give it a push. Kind of work with that. So that looks better. And this is why I like to do it all at once with the glue still wet, because if something's wrong, then it's easier to fix now than peeling it off later. So that looks pretty good. And we're gonna go ahead and do this kind of quickly and then check the back and adjust as needed, using the Exacto knife to push things into place. Okay, next come this weird shoulder bit. Get on in there, kid. There you go. Just pushing everything around. Next is this. Is that right? Yeah. That one's gonna be hard to slide, so I had to pick it up. And you can see where it's off already, but that's okay. It's still dry. It's just dry. It's still not dry. Put some bit for the shoes. Okay. So now we use our hands to kind of squish everything into the right place based off of the brown framework underneath. And everything should line up pretty well. I think this looks pretty good now. Just a few things need to be pushed. When we look at the back, we can see the shoes are off a little bit, but that seemed to fix real quick when I pushed that there. And let's see. Yeah, so from the back it looks good. You don't really see anything. You flip it over, you see this. And at this stage, I use some kind of random weight. I'm gonna use a glue bottle to just kind of hold it down because some of the larger pieces will tend to buckle, you know, as everything is drying and wet. So we're gonna push this off to the side a little bit, keep the weight on there, and move on to cutting out the next pieces. So it's gonna be this pink, lighter pink bit, yeah, orange shoes, rice ball, bigger part of her face. Bigger part of her face, check. And the glue should be dry enough to work with it as soon as we're done cutting this. All these pieces out, so part of her face, light pink part of her tunic. What else is this here? Rice ball. Aha, there's only one part to cut. That's pretty cool. And orange shoes. Okay. So now this part should be good. So now we're just replicating this picture. You gotta get her head, rice ball, pink part, shoes. And these are cut in a way that certain areas of the underlayer are going to show. Now, very similarly to how I did the other one, I'm putting down glue on this whole surface because everything gets covered up with the exception of some slivers of color underneath, and that's totally cool. So, now, some people might recommend you not do that because you can see like the glue shiny bit, and yes, you can see the glue. If your glue is matte, maybe not, but you can see a little bit of the fact that it has glue on it, but I don't think anyone's gonna notice or care, honestly. If you care, then glue it one bit at a time, but if not. So this is important that you get everything lined up because you can see when it's like, let me make it off. See when it's like this, her eyes look kind of weird, but once it's corrected and everything, her eyes and her cheek holes line up perfectly. So putting the little pink thing, which kind of helps you line up the pink thing, which helps you line up the rice ball, which helps you line up the shoes. Okay, now lining it up by grabbing the outsides, lining it up by pushing it to the boundaries that are already laid, and then flipping it over. Don't really see, you see like a little bit, but that's pretty fine. So yeah, this looks good. Looks like the reference. We're gonna put the little glue bottle on it and go to the next one. Still on the same layer. We just cut out whatever this tan thing is, yellow part of shoes and hair. Okay, so whatever, we're going to the yellow part of shoes, because that's what I found first. Yellow part of shoes. Whatever this tan thing is. You can see your hands in there. And hair. Which hair is this? It's this bigger hair. Okay. So those are the only three things it called for this step. This is nice and flat now. Nice and flat, easy to work with. So here, we're only gonna glue where it's necessary because this whole thing covered everything for the most part. But this is one where I wouldn't recommend just putting glue on her whole figure. Put it where the hairline is, put it where I guess her knees are, and then put it where the yellow parts of the shoes need to be. So, hairline check. You can either do this directly on there or doing it on this piece. I think I'm gonna do it on this piece because the bangs are pretty, you know, intricate. So, kind of put it there. And this piece isn't gonna connect in any other pieces, so this is one I would recommend doing one at a time. You can see right there the bang's not exactly right. So you keep adjusting it till it's exactly right. And since this is paper, sometimes a very fine part of the paper needs to be adjusted, but not the whole thing. But yeah, that looks good. Chihiro head secured. And on these tinier areas, you don't really need the glue bottle or any sort of weight to hold it down. The weight's helpful for when, is she holding it? Yeah, the weight is helpful for when it's a wider piece. Like I say, this is about the size that you might need a weight for, just because the page tends to warp, like the little paper tends to warp when it's a wider area that's wet. So line up the fingers with the onigiri and the other areas that you see fit. See, this is looking pretty good. I think that is good. I'll put the weight on it right after I do the shoes. Again, make sure you're gluing the correct areas of everything. Just double check with your picture. I don't really need to double check that much because I'm pretty used to building these by now. But yeah, little parts of shoes, put on. So that's the third step of layer number 3. Fourth step, following this handy arrow, we need whatever that pink thing is, whatever that white thing is, and the other piece of hair. And so here's other piece of hair. Okay, now that's done, so we put that in the trash. Whatever this pink thing is, check. And some of them already like pre-cut. Just, I don't know, in the nature of the cutting process wasn't necessarily too secure. It's fine because it gets cut off. It's just labeled essentially, so you know what you're gonna cut. And whatever this white thing is. It kind of looks tan on the back side because the laser cutting process kind of burns it a little bit, but it's white when you flip it over. Okay, so here, again, I would only recommend gluing the areas that we're gonna glue. So I'm gonna put the glue on the pieces directly because it's kind of going on top of her knees and then the hair bit. So I'm gonna do the hair bit first. Be very gentle with this because if you grabbed it there, you're kind of gonna break it. I grabbed too much glue. Okay, that might have been off camera a little bit, oops. Okay. You always have to orient yourself somehow. So I'm orienting myself with this little hangy piece to the right. And making sure the bang parts line up. I think that's pretty good. You can flip it if you want, but this part really shouldn't hang off. And then I'm gonna do this white part first because the pink part's gonna slide right in there. Looks like it's gonna go there. And that's another helpful tip. If you can't figure out what you're gluing, try to put it on the little paper theater first before you apply the glue, because sometimes you might accidentally do it on the wrong side because some of these pieces are a bit abstract. It's right there. Again, check the edges, check it. I'm a scary black cat. Okay. And then you just put a little bit of glue there and just drop this bit in Okay, looks good. Looks good from the back. Looks good from the front. Put your little weight on there. Next part of layer number 3. And see, it gets so tedious a little bit that it does a little close-up view too. But what we're cutting here is, it's got kind of 2 steps in one. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this pink thing. But I don't know, white sliver, reddish pink thing, green thing, 2 leg bits, and then pink thing. So pink thing. Okay. Pink thing, check. Reddish big thing. Check. A white tiny thing. Looks like a little, I don't know. Check, I don't know, check. 2 little bits of leg skin. I believe it's this. Yeah, little bits of leg skin. Always be careful with these smaller pieces because you tend to lose them if you're not paying attention to where you put them on your board, because they're so tiny that like you could be working and get stuck to your arm and then it falls off on the floor. And then there's one tiny green piece. Look how tiny that is. It's right here. Tiny green piece, check. See, that just popped out and it's like, whoa, how am I gonna do that? It's so tiny. Okay, so I think it's easiest to do the larger parts first. All those pieces are so tiny. Wow, okay. So we're gonna do this bigger part first. Make sure this is the right area. Looks good, looks good. So flip it over, apply the glue. And I will say the warping tends to happen when you put too much glue. So always try to thin out your glue. So this looks pretty good. I think that's good. And so I'm gonna do the little leg bits next. I'm gonna glue it directly on the thing just because it's really hard to put the glue on the pieces when they're this small. You need like the Exacto knife to kind of help you put it in the right place. Oop, almost dropped that piece off the table because it's so small. Sometimes it's so hard to do these tinier pieces that I just kind of have to drag them around with the Exacto knife until they kind of land in the right spot. If you saw my Princess Mononoke one, that one is particularly difficult just because the face had so many layers. What's next? This little white thing. Yeah, I can see where it goes. And it's a little easier because you can just drop it in there because the red piece that we just glued kind of guides it into the right spot. And then this is where the illustration kind of shows you. This green part is a little bit of the tray. So it goes like under her fingers. So we're gonna put the glue. I'm trying to do it a little closer to show you. Can you see that? Put the glue on this little line here. And then it's really hard to tell top side versus bottom side, but according to the picture, I think it's this way. Something like this where it's almost a straight line, it really doesn't matter too much. But let me push that up. Ooh, I think I did it wrong. Let's see. No, I think it might just not be quite aligned. Yeah, that's better. So that's all that it's asking for. Although the glue needs, because I put it in the wrong place, the glue needs to be in the right spot. So give it a push. I don't know how well I caught that on camera, but so that's this layer. This layer, not entirely. Let me say that again. That's this layer of the front side. So I can feel this part kind of came up a little bit, so I'm gonna put this weight on it a little bit longer, but we're gonna work on the back side next. So as this is calling for, it's calling for red piece of head, brown piece of head. So this is the last red piece. No, never mind, there's another piece there. I celebrated too soon. I was gonna say, we can throw this part away now. So, red piece of head, brown piece of head. Did you know that Lady Gaga talked about the lyrics of Poker Face when she was like 23? Makes you feel so inadequate, right? Kind of nothing by the time you're 23. Anyway, this weird thing that was in my head. So now you take this is layer 3 and you flip it over. You flip it over. So this actually says step 1, step 2. So you glue the red bit on, and then you glue the black or the brown bit right on top of the red bit. So make sure it's facing the right direction. You can kind of tell here because of the little bit of hair. So put your glue. Boop. Make sure that plate stayed. So glue it, check it. So basically, the only reason for this little red bit is for this little bit of ponytail holder. So that's all this is. So you want to make sure the front side, only bit of red you see is this ponytail holder. So you flip it back over and you put this on top. So it's this way. So glue this, apply the glue to this little brown bit. That on there, and similarly squish it, feel it, make sure it's right. Look at the front. Woo! See a tiny bit of ponytail. Love it. So we're gonna let that sit for a second. It's kind of harder to balance it. And then the last part of this is last bit of brown ponytail head piece. Love it. Literally don't know where to cut. Okay, there's one here, there's one there. So if I were not filming, my head would be a lot closer to these cuts and it would be easier to tell where I need to cut. So you might be able to, I can't tell what you see on camera right now, but you might be able to tell on camera, like, oh, it's right there, it's so obvious. Okay, it might be obvious to you. Now for this piece, I'm trying to show you the picture. In this piece, see how this head part looks like a ball cap, but then this head part's ponytail? I'm only gonna glue the head area because the whole glue kind of coming out shiny thing. So if I glued the whole piece that I'm putting on it, it's got all this stuff that doesn't actually need glue. So anyway, put it on, look at it, move it around. Looks okay from the back. Let's look at it from the front. Woo! Girl's got ponytail. And so that's all of, yeah, it's all of layer 1. Wow. Or sorry, layer 3. So I'm gonna put that up to the top with all my layers or frames. I don't know what to call them. Next up, frame 4. Let me cut this out before I show you what all we're doing on it. So this one It's got the little frame on the outside, so let me cut that off first. Let's see. Was that a YouTube notification? It was YouTube or Gmail. I've got two. No one texts me. So here, what we need to cut out, it's part of the frame. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's a little Haku there. So we need to cut Haku out. Like this, and this. And this. You got this really in here. Man, do you even want me to get it out? I think and I might be totally wrong, but it's a lot harder to cut out on these frame parts rather than the individual pieces parts. I don't know if they use different paper or what, but it's like tragic trying to get it out. I was thinking it was my knife, but my knife has no problems with the other pieces. Okay, so this is a Haku. So this is what I'm talking about on the paper theater, that it like, sometimes it's like, I don't understand how that makes anything. And it works out. Just trust the process. So this one's calling for green part of Haku face, red part, hair part, and then the shirt parts and whatever. So it kind of looks purple on there, but over here it looks more like periwinkle. But purple Haku part. Purple Haku part, check. The actual last part of the red block of colors. Nice. Ooh. Excited to have it come out. Green part of Haku face. Looks shady. Love it. Remember when I watched Spirited Away for the first time when I was like 10 or something. I think it had just come out to the US too. I was like, man, I don't trust that Haku boy for a second. And I guess he was I have no clue where this hair, oh there it is, I'm holding it. And Haku is someone we trust or whatever, but I was wary of him. So, I don't trust that guy. He was like sassy, and then was like, sound like Robin from the Teen Titans, and I was like, I don't trust him. But I guess he's someone we rooted for towards the end. So, blue bit of shirt. See, this is why I don't do the full tutorials, because this is just like a lot of cutting, but I was requested this, so I'm doing it. So as you can see here, again, I'm gonna put glue on this whole brown part of this frame because everything's gonna line up and connect beautifully. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna work fast. So line up the parts, make sure they're facing the right way first before you apply the glue, because it'll help you when you have everything lined up. Because right now it's like, what the heck am I supposed to be doing here? Okay, that's in general what he's supposed to be shaped like. So now we're applying this glue. Make sure you put it on the right side of the frame. I double checked as soon as I put the glue down, but it's fine. Okay, love it. So we're gonna do top of Haku head first. Just kind of put it there. That looks okay. Mouth. Hair. Okay, Exacto Knife, help me out, kid. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Shirt. All in place. Okay. Purple shirt. Leggy bits. Okay, now that everything is somewhat in the right place, we can start to shift it as a whole. So that looks okay. I can tell the legs are off, so it's off somewhere else. Okay, gotta shift the whole tunic area. That's pretty close. I think that is pretty good. Let's turn it around. Ooh, looking good. So put the weight on it, push that off to the side. Now we're gonna get these pieces. Black part of face, white part of face, mouth, gray tunic, more pants. Gray tunic only has one piece to cut from. Perfect, love to see it. It actually doesn't really matter. It's just a little easier to find when it's that way. Don't break your paper like me. I've actually never broken a piece of paper. I've come pretty close. All the Porco Rosso ones I've done have really thin lines for like the plain pieces. And so I've come close on every Porco Rosso one I've done. I think I've only done 2 first, but everyone I've done. I've got some more Porco Rosso ones. I think that's a super underrated Studio Ghibli movie, by the way. I think it's just a lesser known one because it's not as cute. Oh no, I forgot to do this piece of Chihiro! It's fine because it goes on the front. So let's just do it real quick. This is part of the 3rd layer. Let me put the glue on, what I'm gluing, and then just put it on real quick. Main frame. Love it. Love to see it. Okay. Back to Porco Rosso and the intricacies of Porco Rosso. I think it's just a little bit lesser. In general, I think it's lesser well known, and I think it's lesser well known because of the fact that the main character and the love interest and stuff, they're not like the traditional Studio Ghibli, like kind of kawaii, kind of, you imagine yourself as that person, I guess, but I personally super like it. I was hanging out with a friend the other day and we both were like, man, Porco Rosso is lit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gotta get some Haku pants and feet. Oh yeah. Okay. So my 5 pieces are cut out now. I fixed that part of the 3rd layer. And again, this is one where I will put glue on the whole thing because most of it gets covered again. Get some fresh glue. Okay, I'm looking at it one more time. Yep. A little bit of feetsy glue. Put glue on. So his whole head is green, right? It's because his eyeballs. That's it. So we're gonna put a little bit, let me make sure I got glue right at the edge here. Okay, a little bit of hair. check. Piece of head, check. Oh my gosh, my Exacto knife to help me out. Piece of head, check. Piece of mouth, check. Shirt, check. Line it up with the hair. Pants, check. Pants and feet. Okay, so now we're going to try to line this better before it dries. Looking good. I think that's aligned pretty well. Maybe that could go a little further. Flip it over. Looking good. Okay, we're gonna put the weight back on him. And next part, I'm gonna cut out tan Haku face. I don't know what color that is. Maybe white tunic, maybe gray. Blue pants, tiny little flip-flop thongs. So, Haku face. Easy to find. Looks like a face. Where is this to be cut? Is it here? Okay, Haku face, check. I guess it's white. White tunic bit. Let me double check. That looks right. White tunic bit. Love it. That's my dog. He's rolling around. I've got a, maybe one day I'll do an art studio tour video. I've got a bed set up for him. And I actually have 2 dog beds set up for both of my dogs. One of them, my dog who's with me right now just had surgery. I say just 2 weeks ago, and he's in his recovery phase, and he's not supposed to have fun for 8 weeks, you know, like a normal dog. So his dog brother is at my parents' house until the 8 weeks, or a little, maybe 6 weeks are up. Basically until the doctor okays him to have fun. And so I'm always, oh, he's so cute right now. He's got the blanket on his head. Let me try to take a picture. Don't do it, Jericho, don't move. Okay, he moved. Never mind. But anyway, have everything cut out. Tiny sandal bits, shirt, head, pants. So this is one that I will be gluing each piece individually. Start with head. Slap that on there. Ooh. Looking kind of weird, but looking good. Love it. Love to see it. Shirt next. Just be careful, the shirt's got a lot of tiny parts like that. You want to grab it in a secure place when you flip it over. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but just gently apply your glue. Don't do what I did. Glue, check. Let's see. It like lines up with that hairpiece. Perfect. Yep, that's looking good. Try to wipe off the residual glue bits right there. Shouldn't have done that. It's okay. Take my Exacto knife and scrape that off a little bit. Okay. And then glue his pants on. Is that the right way? Yes. Okay. pants. Check. Looking good. Looking good from the back. I'm gonna go ahead and put this weight down on it and then glue his little flippy floppy bits into place. I'm gonna try to show you, I guess. Put the glue on first because that's really hard to get it. And then these flip-flops, like honestly, they look the same, but they're not. So trying to figure out which one goes on which foot. That looks right. And I'll be honest, they look the same. And I'm failing at grabbing it. I'm just gonna throw it. Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Go back on. No. Oh, okay. Cool. And those tiny little flip-flop bits, you don't have to use any weight for them. The weight's really just for larger areas that kind of warp over the drying time. And then now we need to cut off his hair, black hair, paper, knee shadows. We're getting close to the end. Knee shadows, check. Flip that. Oh, throw away this blue bit. One of his hairs. Which hair is this? It's the whole hair. The reason why there's a lot of times two hairs and it's like, why don't you just put the whole thing of hair and be done, is it just adds texture, adds layers, kind of makes it look like it's like someone's there. It's cute. We love it. We love to see it. And then last bit of this tan one. Woo, love it. Okay. So going back to this part. I only cut out 4. So we glue his hair onto his head. Whoop. Okay. Put the hair down. Ooh, slay queen. I think I laid it down really well the first time, and I started to move it. Okay, next. I can tell where this is gonna go, so I'm just gonna put the glue there. It's this little, his hand that's holding the paper for the rice ball. Man, I'm craving rice ball now, but I'm gonna make a pizza. Already got the dough ready. Okay, and then the knee pieces. I'm gonna glue the actual knee pieces because it's kind of hard to tell where they go. The glue applied. And you can see on here, it's got the little edges cut out. It's got little notches created so you know where the knee piece goes. See? Lined up, beautiful. But it's just, sometimes visually, because you don't quite understand what's going to happen, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. Okay, here's another knee piece, and you kind of see the notches right there, and then you go bam, oops, bam. Knee piece and notch. So I need to make it better. Yeah, that's all that it is. Okay, looking good. Looking good, Haku. So now we flip the page. Wow. So now we're on. Still on the front side. Last piece of hair, last piece of rice paper. That makes me think, did I cut out the wrong one? I might have. Oops, I did. Can I take it off? Yeah, it wasn't dry. They look the same. I still don't see a difference. Oops. But it's totally cool, because watch this bad boy. We're just gonna put that glue back on there. And put this back on there. Woo! So great. Wow. And then we're gonna glue this other one on here. Oh, okay, so the piece that I didn't glue was a little chunk of his hand. Okay. And now we're done with this piece. Great, great stuff. And then last piece of his hair. Okay, we're done with that one. And it doesn't really look like much. You just glue it on the side of his head. It's just for additional depth, dimension, whatnot. Okay. Just gonna put a little bit of weight on his head. The last thing is more rice balls. It's white chicken. More rice ball. Okay. That looks right side. Slap that little piece of rice ball on there. Woo. Looking great. So, layer number 4 is done. On to layer number 5. Again, cut out the outer border, and if there is an inner border, cut that off too. This one has one. But it's got a lot of stuff that remains in this one. And I actually really like it when the paper theaters have these intricate, now it's not fun to cut, but visually when it's all over, these look really nice when they have interesting 4th and 5th or 6th layers. I really do enjoy it when it's like that. This one's like, man, could you get more intricate in what I need to cut? This one guy was like cutting this off when we were driving yesterday. And I just said, sir? You know, just cause. And my mom was like, how could you tell that was a man? And I was like, oh, I couldn't tell, I just said sir. She was like, oh. I don't know, it was really funny. I have another funny thing that you might not think is funny, but my mom is foreign, right? And we were watching Lord of the Rings, and my mom doesn't know anything about Lord of the Rings. She's like, what country is this? And my dad was like, are you talking about where it was filmed? And she's like, no, like in the show, what country is this? And my dad said, well, it's called Middle Earth. And she said, no, it's not. And he's like, what do you mean it's not? And she said, I can see the sun. And he's like, no, not in the middle of the earth. It's called Middle Earth. And she was like, well, that's a dumb name. So that was funny. I've never seen Lord of the Rings. And I just said Lord of the Rings. I actually think they were watching The Hobbit. I've never really seen that either. Sometimes I go over to my parents' house and my dad will be watching some stuff. So I'll kind of see bits of it just because proximity. But I'm not really familiar. I did go to Goodwill the other day and I got 2 DVDs of Lord of the Rings. I think I got the first one and I don't know what, I think I got 1 and 2, but I'm genuinely not sure. But it was $1.50 each. So that's all of layer 5, by the way. Layer 5 is pretty simple. Right now we gotta cut off 2 foliage green bits. And they're on the same sheet. Wow, so sweet. There's bit, bit. Okay, there's 1 foliage bit. Carving out foliage bit number 2. So that's all that's on this green bit, but we do have another green layer left. Okay, so this, where's the top, where's the bottom? Looks like this. Looks like this. Now this is one that I will put like a thin coat just all on the frame, because there's so many different intricate layers, like little cuts and whatever, and y'all, that is so tedious. And by the time, if you actually try to glue it one by one, your glue's kind of dry by the time that's done. So I ain't gonna fool with that. I'm just gonna do a thin layer and plop it on. Place it how I'm supposed to. Okay. Is this good? I'm gonna adjust a little bit more. Do that thing where you look at the back. That's a lot better. Okay. Put this weight on it. Same thing on the right side. Apply more glue. Okay. Just slide this in place. Pick it up so I can look at it better. Sometimes it's hard to get this exactly lined up because it's very intricate, but just do what you can. And I think that looks pretty good. So, Haku, you done. So we're gonna put that on there, and we're gonna cut out the next pieces, which is a bit tedious. Actually, I think the white part's a little more tedious, but these little pink flowers, orange flower, purple flower. So orange flower, looks like I'm doing the smaller one for now. Smaller orange flower. Not yellow yet. Purple flower, last bit of purple. Getting close to the end, pretty cool. Purple flower. And almost all the pink flowers. Only one not used is this for now. Okay. Got the flowers cut. And this is kind of like, how do I find where I'm supposed to put my flowers? They are in the bushes. Flower, 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 flower. So I think I'm gonna start off with the orange one. That looks a little bit easier to locate for me. Looks like it's here. Yeah, Yeah, that fit. And then you can see there's some guideline there for the purple one. So I can kind of make out where that's supposed to go. Kind of dab. Okay, let's see. That looks good. Looks okay, maybe. Yeah, that looks fine. As I keep messing with it. And then this other one's kind of harder to tell. So I'm gonna try to lay it out before I put it on. So it looks like it's touching this wall. Let's see. I think that's right. So I'm gonna put it directly on the flowers because I'm still a little confused where it's supposed to go. Okay, I think that's right. And if not, no one's gonna know, honestly. Same with this. I see where it's supposed to go in the picture. I do see the little flower shape. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. Okay, flowers applied. I'm gonna put a little weight on that. Next, we need to do white flowers and one tiny yellow flower. We're getting real close to the end. So tiny yellow flower. I don't even see where the other cut's supposed to be. Okay. And then all but one white flower, check. These are gonna be, I said the white ones were more tedious, I was wrong, because we're just laying these on top of where we put the pink ones. Which default makes it easier. I thought these were more tedious just by looking at it because I thought they were not connected. This is due too. Okay. Coming to the end. So this yellow one goes on top of this orange guy. These two flowers here. That looks right. And then this big one goes here. So we just paint the purple flower area with glue. And looks like this. Yep. Ooh. Looking like flowers. What kind of flowers? I have no idea. Okay, again, this one has flower white bits on the whole thing. So I know it's this one. And the more you do this, the more you can kind of look at it and tell where things are supposed to go. And this one has a triplet of flowers up here. Trio of flowers. So cool. Okay. So this layer's done. Put it off to the side. Last layer, layer number 6. So start by taking off this outer frame. So this is a running thing with these paper theaters, specifically the Studio Ghibli ones, but I assume it's whatever brand you get. Studio Ghibli, it'll show Studio Ghibli, and this means it's the back side, because when you look at the theater, you're looking at the back of it. So that's something that you're gonna wanna do, and it's gonna be wrong. You need to put it, you need to make sure that the Studio Ghibli is backwards when you're working on it. So it sounds silly and like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know it makes a lot of sense, but when you're putting it together the first time, you're probably gonna put it on backwards because it's like forwards in your head, but it's not how it's supposed to go. Almost there with all these tedious bits. Let's look. That looks right. Let's be cleaned up a little bit. Okay, there we go. So again, it doesn't tell you explicitly where to cut those little bits. It's just basically, you see a score mark, you cut it. Because this just shows you the cut up frame that says glue this green thing on it. It says we're done. Last green thing. Tedious little green thing. That actually wasn't too tedious because it doesn't look like we cut anything out of the inside of it. So keep in mind this is the back side, and on the illustration it shows the Studio Ghibli at this bottom corner. So make sure, looks like we do it like this. That looks right. So again, put glue everywhere. And it's not too important that you get the glue in all these little fine nooks and crannies, just because it's so tiny, you know. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just slap it on, slide it into place. Back, gotta make sure the back looks good too. The back pretty much never shows anything like exciting, so I think we could call this passable, but you might want to like put all these bits into place. I personally don't care that much, so I'm gonna call that done. Put the weight on it while it dries, and then these call for the last 4 things to cut, so we're just gonna go ahead, find them and cut them. So white flour. Now we're done with the whole white sheet. Wow. Orange flowers. I know, Jericho, it's almost dinner time. He's been very good. Pink flower. Flower. back to this sheet. So first you get these two orange and pink flowers, middle, and then the top right. You see this kind of warping a bit, but it's not gonna matter very shortly because we're about to glue everything together and it'll hold its shape better then. So we're gonna glue this orange flower and this little mess area here, as well as the pink one in this little mess area here. Wow. Yep, that looks right. And then put the yellow and white on top of what we just glued down. So the yellow one kind of goes across the middle. The white one kind of stays at the bottom. Amazingly, I didn't lose any pieces. I've never lost any pieces completely, but sometimes I have to like pause what I'm doing, like pause the video and get on the floor and look. So that didn't happen this time. I did forget that one pink piece, but I found it and put it back. And that usually happens too on a layer that you can correct because the layer is pretty much done. So you just aren't thinking about it. So now we cut, they're called joints. I think it's a silly name. They're called joints. Let's cut them out real quick. And the joints are easy to cut out. They just have 2 bits to cut out on each panel. The joints, it's different for every paper theater. In general, they have 2 to 3 sizes, although some of them can only have 1 size. Some of them can have 2 sizes, some can have 3 sizes. And I've done one that had 3 different sizes, but it had a very specific large piece that you had to do on one specific part. And so, if you want to, you can keep them in order. These are both mediums, these are both larges, and the rest of these are smalls. I don't see any indicator saying one's a specific large. So, put those off to the side. So, here are the completed layers. Layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. You can see how thick this layer is. Layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, and layer 6. Okay, so this part is a little bit infuriating, and this is my best method. So let me explain it on this paper theater in particular. This paper theater, you can see everything's pretty it's symmetrical. There's no weird outlines on here. Some of them are shaped weird, and if they're shaped weird, always do the layer which has a flat side. So that's typically the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it from the bottom. Put the 2 large corner pieces in first, and don't actually glue them initially. Just use them to help stabilize it because it's super frustrating. So with my left hand, I grab every layer in the correct order, facing the correct way. And that's too much space in between, but now you take, I said we're gonna start from the bottom, so we're gonna start from the bottom. So flip it over. You take a large piece and see how there's this little arrow indicator right there? That means that points to the front. So each joint has one of those. So we pull apart these individual layers, and then we stick this joint into all of them. I'm trying to do it to where you can see it. It's tedious, it's a little hard to do. It gets better with practice, but it's also kind of hard because I'm holding it up. So I'm gonna put it back down. And it's just kind of hard because like various ways you're like, oh, let's do it one at a time. And it's like, well, that didn't work either because they all fell out. So it just kind of takes getting used to how to manipulate it. But see, all of those are in now. All of those are good. So don't move your hand. If at all possible, try to make them line up and grab the other large joint piece and try to slide them in the best you can. And you can kind of see it. I'm gonna flip it, which might be futile. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So just kind of space it out, very similar to how it already was spaced out, and try to slide each layer into it accordingly. I don't think this will be any easier if you have help. I've never had help. It's very hard, from my experience, to do this and glue it and then do it again. Oh no, it came apart. It came apart, but I was almost done, so it's okay. So now that part's done, but this part came out. But it's okay. Okay, once again, we're gonna flip it. Oh my gosh. So we flipped it. Okay. I think I have a better handle on it now. So, yeah, I think that's a little, it's just a little tricky because it's kind of like a key. It's not gonna go in unless all the things are lined up. And you don't want to push it because you don't want to break it. Okay, we're super close. And they get stuck in their neighbors' slots. Oh man, it came apart again. On my time-lapse videos, you don't really see the struggle. Sometimes I talk about the struggle, but you don't really see it. Okay, it's almost there, it's almost there. And you can bend the paper too. It's just sometimes it's harder when the layers are thicker. Okay, so we did it. So it should stand up on its own now. So at this point, then we start gluing in the other layers. So what we did is the two bottom ones. So now we're gonna do this small one. Keep in mind the small ones only have 5 slots because they don't touch the front. And so the way I glue it is I get my glue on the end of my paintbrush, and I get this little joint, and I just, initially I dab some of the glue on the joint, and then I kind of run the bristles through each joint. Okay. Notice that arrow? That means it's facing the front. So I'm gonna pick this up and show you on different areas, but it just drops in. I missed that back layer, but it just, oh, I missed it again. Why do I keep missing it? Am I missing it? Yeah, I'm totally missing it. Okay. It just drops in very easily. And see, even though it came apart, since it was there and I had coverage, it's good. So now, very carefully, we're gonna flip this over to do the top corners. And that was very easy because the 2 base layers are done. So get these medium ones. The medium ones have 6 slots. It's only the small ones that don't. So you get these glue. Kind of push it through, kind of help it out. Okay. And it should be able to drop in now that you did the hard part, I say drop in. This is the part where you still kind of have to help it out just a little bit, but after like the next one, or this one really, it should be easy. So that's how it is. I'm gonna put the small one in now in the middle. Make sure you get the arrow in the right direction. Okay. So I'm gonna try to pick this up so you can see how I do the piece a little bit better. Just put your glue the joints. Okay. Make sure the arrow is pointing the front. Okay, let's see. So you just drop in the corners and then make sure all the layers are lined up. This one's off. And then it should just slide in, which it did. Wow. So now we've got 2 more pieces to glue for the first time, and then we're gonna take out those large corner pieces that we put in initially, and we're gonna actually put glue on them. So 2 small pieces on the middle sides. Okay. Again, should be able to just drop this in. Wow. Flip it to this side. Do the same thing. Wow. Okay, now we're gonna take out these large corner pieces at the bottom and apply glue and put them back in. Love it, love it. Note these pieces don't go flush like these pieces do, because they need to be stable when it stands up, and I'll show you what I mean once I'm done with this last piece. And we're right at the finish line, just putting in the glue, putting in the corners. Okay, and we're done. So look at that. I'm gonna stand up so you can see better. So this is what I mean. The corners stick out here for when it sits on the table, kind of a little more stability. But here this is. You can see Chihiro and Haku and the rice balls. There's like a little no face right there. That's not really in the scene, but we love it. You can see how it looks from the side. The back where it says Studio Ghibli, facing the right way. Top view, upside down view. So yes, that is a paper theater, start to finish, a whole complete tutorial. Let this dry. It'll dry pretty quickly, but I recommend letting it dry standing up like this. Don't forget to rinse off your paintbrush and throw away your trash. And see, all my trash went in here. And yeah, hope y'all enjoyed a full legitimate paper theater tutorial. This took, looking at the thing, took 1 hour and 40 minutes. If I were to make this without explaining it, it probably would have taken 1 hour. But I was trying to be a little bit more thorough and hold everything up to the camera. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this genuine paper theater tutorial. I plan on doing one for each unique thing. So there's this paper theater cube, paper theater ball, paper theater wood style, and they have this giant paper theater wood style premium. And I don't know if I'll do it for that one because that one seems really, really tedious, but I might do that and it'll be like just a special video. I don't know. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. I have a whole bunch, I think I own every Studio Ghibli paper theater. I haven't assembled them yet, so if there's one you want to see, I probably have it and it's probably going to come out. So y'all have a good one.